All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Frankfurt, and thank you so much for coming out. I heard we do still have a couple people missing due to traffic jams. They'll be here in a minute. If they had taken their bikes, this wouldn't have happened, just saying. So it's time for us to start, though. We're running a bit late. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for your patience. And of course, we would like to welcome our online community. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in to our live stream, and thank you for joining in. We're coming to you live from Frankfurt. Now, as we all know, we have lots of exciting news coming up today. So we're going to get right to it. My name is Yasmin Blair, and I have the great pleasure of guiding you through today's product launch, to introduce to you the new features of the 2023 model year coming up. But the best part for me here on stage, at least, is that I do not have to do this all by myself. Someone is missing. The CEO of Bosch eBike Systems is supposed to be right here with me right now. So I guess our first question starting out is, where is Klaus? All right, I hear someone breathing heavily. That can only be someone who's just gotten off an e-cargo bike without using the motor, probably. Klaus, where are you at? We're all waiting. I can't do this by my... Finally, there he comes. Klaus Fleischer, ladies and gentlemen.
Jasmine, thanks.
Klaus, great.
Thanks for the nice welcome.
Thank you so much for making it out almost on time.
I'm really happy that I made it on time. The traffic is huge here in Frankfurt, so I took the e-bike. That was much faster.
That was a very wise decision, and the coolest part is that you actually took the e-cargo bike.
I took the e-cargo bike, and I got a good parking outside, so I could lock my bike to a post outside. So that was a smart thing to do. So
very
also,
convenient.
very warm welcome to all of you here in Frankfurt in our studio, and to everyone in the live stream and on social media. Thanks for following our invitation today.
Klaus, why don't we have a seat, because I see you really need it. Let's take a rest over here, okay?
Thank you.
So it's great to see you, first of all. Now, you all know this is our first time round in a new city. It's a debut for the Eurobike here in Frankfurt. And we're expecting over 1,500 people, I think, 1,500 exhibitors from the mobility industry, from the cycling industry, from all over the world. How do you feel, Klaus, about this move from Friedrichshain to Frankfurt? Is this a good thing?
It already feels very good to go from Friedrichshafen here to Frankfurt, and if you see what's going on in the city already. But we also have to be thankful for what we had in Friedrichshafen in the past 3 decades. So the Eurobike has always been a place for innovation, collaboration, and inspiration. But it also feels like that we have outgrown the fairgrounds of Friedrichshafen if you see what happens in mobility. So the change and transformation where the bicycle and especially e-bike play a major role. And I think here in Frankfurt, this is more urban, suburban, this is a metropolitan area, and this is where we can showcase what the contribution of the e-bike could be.
I think I just gave myself away. I'm actually from Berlin, so I've just said Friedrichshain instead of Hafen. I don't know if anybody's from Berlin. Are you familiar with Friedrichshain? It's like this hipster district. Okay, so that's kind of embarrassing. I'm not from there. I live somewhere else in Berlin. But anyway, Friedrichshafen it is, of course, and something that I have been seeing in Berlin is more and more e-bikes, you know, more and more by the day, it seems. Maybe to just set the tone, set the mood as an opening question, what are, in your opinion, I know you're passionate about e-bikes yourself in your private life, what are the great advantages of the e-bike that make it so popular and so beloved?
I think we are all super passionate about the possibilities of the e-bike, because it's not only smart and healthy mode of transportation, it makes total sense because it takes away all the excuses not to ride a bicycle. So it's too long, it's too steep, it's too whatever, I will sweat. So with the e-bike, all the excuses are away and gone away, and the fun remains for cycling. And it's a contribution to mobility, and it's also a contribution to a more sustainable mobility.
Of course, and sustainability, thank you for that keyword, is something that concerns all of us greatly. Obviously, it's part of our everyday lives, the concern about sustainability that is growing and becoming more and more important. And as a consumer, or on behalf of the consumers, I do believe that the industry has a large responsibility and a duty when it comes to sustainability. How do you feel about that?
It's a responsibility we all together have if we bring products into a market, whatever product that is. And when we were working initially with e-bikes, we thought we have already a sustainable mode of transportation because it's emission-free. When you use it, it's almost CO2-free while you use it. But that's not enough anymore. We have looked deep into the data of CO2, and there is a lot we can learn about that.
As I understand, you have set yourself some very ambitious goals when it comes to learning and to CO2, anything that's related to that. How have these high goals that you have set, how have they been working out for Bosch e-bike systems so far?
Yeah, so Bosch overall has been the first company globally to become CO2 neutral.
Congratulations.
And as a company, and as we are a division Bosch e-bike systems within the Bosch group, we have set our own goals and targets. And we have worked together with many institutions. We have done our studies. We work together with the TÜV Rheinland, for example, and we have used a lot of public sources. And if you look on these charts, then there is two things that we have to consider when we talk about CO2. It's the overall footprint from production to usage to end of life. So we call this the CO2 equivalent in kilogram per CO2. And the usage per kilometer, when you really use it, this is in grams per kilometer. And if you compare now a bicycle to an e-bike, to a car with an electrical motor, or to a car with an internal combustion engine, you can see the numbers on the chart. The bicycle and the e-bike, they are almost similar. There is a difference, I will come to that. But they are far better in the total footprint than an electric vehicle and a vehicle with a combustion engine. The point is that we need cars for sure, for longer transportation, and if you have more than one to carry, or if you carry load on a longer distance, for sure. But if you compare it on a shorter distance, especially in the urban areas like commuting, running errands, bringing kids to the kindergarten, for your daily commute, 5, 8, 10 kilometers. Now, if you take the CO2 per kilometer for an e-bike, and if you just cycle 7 weeks, every day, 10 kilometers, you have already compensated for the battery production. So the difference between the e-bike and the bicycle is the motor and the battery, but you compensate by just 7 weeks, every day, 10 kilometers, not using your car. And to be honest, most of the time it is said, yeah, but why don't you cycle with your bike? And especially for commuters, the alternative is not the bike, it's still the car.
And there are certain routes that you just definitely need the car for, obviously, but the numbers do speak for themselves and are also impressive. And again, on behalf of the consumer, I think we can all appreciate that this is really a matter of the heart to all of you at Bosch eBike Systems. I think we all know that. And also, it's very refreshing to see a company that puts their money where their mouth is at, so to speak. You have really fully integrated measures into your company in practice, and I really think that we need two things to clearly make a difference in the future as well. First of all, we need more companies like Bosch, we need large corporations to really put these measures and to put sustainability at the top of the agenda, but we also need those mid-sized and those smaller corporations. And then the second thing is, we need to all make the choice to take the e-bike, right? We need to prefer riding the e-bike as the consumers, and we need to get more people on the e-bikes.
Yeah.
So if we have a look at the numbers, what are the market figures actually currently saying?
Yeah, before we come to the market numbers, you touch one point, which is the task for the whole industry, and this is the product life cycle. We also have to look into the production. Where are the components coming from? What is the CO2 footprint of when you use aluminum or magnesium or battery cells? We have to work with our suppliers that they use more green power. We also have to reduce critical materials. Everyone knows in a lithium-ion battery there is cobalt. No one knows that in the past 8 years the amount of cobalt was reduced by 65% per battery cell. So there is a lot we all can do. Also when it comes to circular economy, like providing repairs or remanufacturing, we take back drive units and we collect them. We also, and then we repair them and we give them as a spare part to the dealers. We also collect batteries and bring them to a recycling facility. Why are we doing this? Because of the market demand. And if we want to bring more e-bikes to the market, we have to look into the whole value chain and the life cycle of sustainability. Now, if we look into the market numbers, yes, the e-bike has enjoyed a stable growth over the past years. We all know the special year 2020 with the corona lockdown and the COVID situation everywhere. This was for sure a boom year, but we have seen a constant steady growth, not only in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, all over Europe. Meanwhile, also in the US and Canada, these markets were like 5 to 8 years behind. They are catching up now nicely. We also see countries in Asia Pacific like Australia, New Zealand, Japan, always, and now Korea, Taiwan, picking up the pedal control bicycle that we know here from Europe. If you look into the numbers of France, huge growth the last year again from 2000 to 2021. And if you look into the numbers of Germany, you would wonder, oh, this is a small growth, only 3%. But to be honest, this was not driven by demand, this was just purely driven by supply. So we all know we had a supply shortage in the market, and we still have a supply shortage in the market, but we believe there is an ongoing demand for e-bikes for the next years to come.
Now, you just mentioned the supply shortage. On one hand, of course, we've been seeing this boom due to the pandemic, but on the other hand, we also know that this is the exact reason, the pandemic is the reason that we actually need to put these numbers into relation to how challenging these past 2 years have been. And as you mentioned, the supply chain is out of sync, has been put out of sync, not only for you, but this is definitely something that must have had a large impact on Bosch and Bosch e-bike systems.
Actually, it had already last year, and for those of you who were at the Eurobike last year or at the IAA Mobility in Munich, I said there, the bike industry is fighting for every bike they can build because of shortage of components. And this is still true today. Last year, it was mainly mechanical components coming out of Asia, like frames or forks or derailleurs or brakes. And in the third quarter of 2021, there was a huge shortage in electronic supply, microcontrollers, semiconductors, any electronic component. And we, as Bosch eBike Systems, we got also hit very hard. Up to then, we were able to produce and ship everything which was demanded. We made our homework, increasing our production capacity. We worked with suppliers to improve logistics. But the electronic situation is still critical, and this has two reasons, and they are very important to understand. Number one is there is a global shortage, a structural shortage when it comes to electronic supply compared to the demand. This is in automotive, in motorbikes, in e-bikes, in household appliances, in any kind of industry, there is a structural shortage. And to build up a wafer fab on all the production facilities coming after, this just takes 2 to 4 years. And second effect are individual effects, still coming out of COVID lockdowns all over Asia, Malaysia, in Taiwan, in China. So we still have lockdown situations like the Shanghai port. Now the Wuxi area has faced a lockdown. And these single events bring the global supply chains in such an unstable situation that you cannot control your production anymore. So we are now in a huge backlog towards the demand of the bicycle manufacturers. We know that, even it's not on our side to solve the situation, but we are responsible to keep up production. So we work very hard to get alternative components, to design them in. This is a huge workload on our side and a huge stress also for the manufacturers and the dealers, because everyone is running high on inventory of the wrong components, because if one component is missing, you cannot build a bike, and right now it has also an effect on us. So we are continuing to invest into the future because we believe there is a future for e-bikes. We have to overcome this deep black hole of supply shortage, and we will do so because we have many ideas for the e-bikes and our customers.
Many ideas, and you're going to share a few words about supply later on as well. And looking into the future, as you've mentioned, that's the perfect keyword here, because Bosch eBike Systems introduced a new system generation last year that's going to help us, in return, look into the future in just a minute. I'm talking about the smart system. What are you aiming to achieve with this new generation?
Yeah, last year at the Eurobike, we launched the smart system for the model year 22. And we said, for us, like an image, the physical experience of riding an e-bike and the digital experience of using the Flow app and consuming cloud services, they should blend in seamlessly into one experience for all our consumers. And for that, we had to go back and design everything fresh from scratch. So a new hardware architecture, a new software architecture, a lot of technology, encryption technology, because we want to work with data, so data privacy, data security. And then we came up with just one single system set. One drive unit, Performance Line CX, one battery pack, PowerTube 750, one display, Kiosk 300. Most of the customers were excited and they loved the new technology and the potential that would come up in the future. Some were a little disappointed. Why don't you have all the features available that we know before? And we heard what they said, so we thought, let's continue, because we made a promise. Every year and also during the year we bring updates and upgrades.
And then if I say bike flow, what do you say? Because that's another very exciting factor.
What do you say?
Bike flow app.
The Flow app.
The Flow app.
Yeah, the Flow app is in the center of the attention of the cyclist to combine the digital world and the physical world of riding the e-bike. And therefore we said for model year 22, we bring already an update before we go into model year 23. And with that, we launched already in spring this year the so-called smartphone grip. The smartphone grip fits to the same holder like the Kiosk 300. You can use the smartphone and the Flow app like a display or as a display. You can also use your remote buttons to control the smartphone app or the Flow app. And we also brought not only tracking for your trips, but also navigation, so you could do navigation already. And we also launched already the e-bike lock, which we know from the previous system from the kiosks. Now you have lock also with the Flow app. So the Flow app becomes your digital key for the bike.
All right, this is where it gets even more exciting. Why don't we move back to the center stage? Because the suspense is now killing us, of course. We want to see the new products. We want to know what you have been working on and what you have developed. So it's time to, Klaus, introduce the new products for the 2023 model year. Are you ready?
Absolutely. This is why you are here. That's why we are here. So we promise to you that we will bring more products to the market. We will enhance, enrich, and broaden our portfolio. And for sure, the expected ones are drive units and batteries and displays. But maybe today we also have one or two surprises for you. So let's start with drive units.
Yes.
The first drive unit that we bring to the smart system is the Performance Line. We all know the Performance Line as powerful and also really silent. and it's suitable, perfect for trekking bikes, for city bikes, for longer distances, also for travel bikes. And it's really nice because it's super quiet, and the upgrade for this year, it will come with 75 Newton meters. So the performance line is your trekking, travel, touring drive unit. And it comes with a new feature, and for those of you who know the EMTB mode and the logic behind, we bring now the auto mode. The auto mode has the similar technology, using similar software, hardware, and algorithms, but with a different idea. So we can sense now if you cycle and you have upcoming wind, or if there is a small hill. In this situation, we can tell that you need a little bit more power from the motor, and instead of shifting to a lower gear or shifting to a higher support mode, we give you a little bit more power from the motor, like an invisible hand. This all works automatically. This is why we call this the auto mode. This is fun to ride. It comes with the performance line, but it comes with all other drive units as well, especially for trekking bikes, for touring bikes, and super fun to ride. So after the auto mode, that comes with many drive units, we have one more drive unit which we want to launch. That's the performance line speed. You all know the performance line speed. This is the drive unit that you need if you want to commute with higher speed, 45 kilometers per hour cutoff speed in Europe, 28 miles per hour cutoff speed in the US, and it's now also available on the smart system. So if you have power from your drive unit, you need energy from the battery. The last year we have launched the PowerTube 750, and this year we bring the two smaller sisters. PowerTube 500 and PowerTube 625 are also now available with the smart system. They have the same form factor, the same dimensions, but shorter and less weight. So less range, less weight, and less size. So bike manufacturers are now able to build and create different frame designs with the three types of batteries. Then the question was, is it all about power tubes? Are only batteries now available integrated into the frame? We said no, there is also a need for power packs. Power packs especially for special purpose bikes like cargo bikes or tandem bikes or trekking bikes. So not everyone has the potential to integrate a battery into the frame. So we said a new industrial design, a slim design with new battery cells. So we bring the Power Pack 725 for longer range and the Power Pack 545 for shorter range. Why the Power Pack 725? Because it fits super good to cargo bikes. So we also bring the cargo line to the smart system this year. The cargo line is especially for the trend we see here in the urban areas, and it comes also with a specific mode, the so-called cargo mode. It's based on 400% support, so 400% of your power and performance is amplified by the motor. It's developed to carry heavy loads, so you need the power, but you don't want to have the dynamics and the acceleration like you have in a mountain bike. So the cargo mode is a smooth ride, very powerful. So that's basically the whole portfolio on drive unit and battery, and especially we're happy that we can support the trend of cargo bikes.
And that's why you chose to ride in on your cargo bike.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see this, but he has this sparkle in his eye. For every product he's talking about, this is beautiful. So thank you so much, and this is all the exciting news that I was talking about, and I'm glad that you did mention cargo bikes again, and you also said it's a trend, and this is also something that I have been seeing more and more lately, at least in Berlin. We have e-cargo bikes or cargo bikes everywhere we look. Why would you say has it become so popular, and is this really the next big thing that we're looking at?
Already some years ago, for those of you who were at the Eurobike 2014 in Friedrichshafen, we had a prototype, an orange cargo bike built by Kalle Nicolai, and Kalle and I, we designed the drivetrain together. And we had the initial idea, this could be the next big thing, because we saw already two use cases. The light commercial use case for delivery or for smaller companies, for any kind of delivery, and we saw second a lifestyle effect for families in inner cities who would like to replace their second car. And now we see this everywhere, in every city, even in Stuttgart, because it's hilly, but also here in Frankfurt today. If you run your errands, if you bring kids to the kindergarten, the cargo bike is a lifestyle, and it's also a light commercial vehicle, and it can replace the car in the inner city, in an urban area, when it is 3, 5 to 10 kilometers. It's super fun, and it's super sustainable, and we think that's a good contribution.
One issue perhaps is that cargo bikes and e-cargo bikes are extremely heavy, but I think here you also have a solution.
Yeah, they are kind of heavy, and if you cannot ride it anymore, if you have to push it somewhere, we have developed the so-called hill hold. You know that with the smart system, we did an upgrade on our walk assist. So the long press on the minus button, and then the walk assist pushes your bike next to you, and it rolls up the hill next to you. And then we found out, but if it rolls backwards because you cannot hold on to the minus button, or there is a step or something, and the situation you can have either on a mountain bike or on a cargo bike, the hill hold will hold your bike for 10 seconds. Even if you take the finger off the minus button, then you have 10 seconds. The motor will hold the cargo bike or the mountain bike on a steep trail, and then you have 10 seconds to reapply the minus button. And with the same speed as before, smoothly, it helps you going uphill.
Very convenient. Now, we already heard and spoke a bit about safety, about keeping e-bikers safe and keeping e-bikers in the flow, but there are always unexpected things that can come up, very surprisingly. You know what I mean, right, Klaus?
Absolutely. Safety is a huge topic, and this is why we believe as Bosch there is more we all should do together to support cycling. And the best way to show this, I would say, is a video. Let's see what unexpected situations can happen in any situation for all of you, and see what the solution is. Let's have a video.
These guys made history in safety. But now, a new hero is emerging. His name says it all. Bosch eBike Systems presents Alex, the brake schmidt. He's at one with your bike. And you. Whether you're just cruising around the city, or if you feel the need for speed, whether the trail is your second home, or if you're transporting precious cargo, he's at your side. The new e-bike ABS from Bosch keeps your flow.
All right, a huge advantage there, making braking a whole lot easier and a whole lot safer for all of us. Now, you're going to share some more specific examples with us later on and go into more detail. But first of all, I did make a note of this very crucial piece of information, Klaus, that you shared with me in a previous conversation before today's show. And I'm going to read, it's a quote: according to Bosch accident research, up to 29% of all pedalic accidents could be prevented if ABS were to be fitted. Now, 29%, that is a huge number.
Yeah, 29%, this is a learning coming out of our first generation. You know that we have launched the first ABS in 2018, and then we did a lot of market research. We worked with different institutes, and we also checked the different accident patterns. And we believe in the situations we will talk about, there is a potential to reduce bicycle accidents by up to 29%, or at least reduce the effect when you have an accident, that it's not that severe. And this is all the idea about what we call at Bosch Invented for Life. You see the little logo down there, Invented for Life. It's not only about invention, the innovation, the technology, it's really about the contribution. So contribute with our technology to a better life, to a healthier life, to a more sustainable life, and also to safety in all areas.
And safety is not only about the device, the e-bike that you're driving, it's about the streets, it's about the community, how people act. And I, for one, can say on the streets of Berlin, I do not feel safe. The bike lanes are, you're shocked, I know. The bike lanes are not usable at times. The bike lanes that are on the roads are blocked by cars. The government has made sure that the fines go up, but this does not prevent car drivers from parking on the lanes. They're inattentive when they open their doors a lot of the times. So I'm just saying there are many hazards on the streets. How can we make these things better?
I would say when it comes to safety for cyclists, this is a threefold approach. Number one is infrastructure, infrastructure, more infrastructure.
Yes.
Attractive infrastructure and safe infrastructure. We will use this week during the Eurobike to discuss this with many politicians, with city planners in different sessions. This is super important. We make a lot of progress in Europe already, but it's just not enough and not fast enough. Second, it's responsibility for everyone who is in the mobility, in the transportation, is on the streets. Everyone should have an attitude and a behavior. We should care for each other. So therefore, responsibility from all of us, from car riders, the drivers, but also from bike riders. And number three is technology. And this is the invented for life idea. And this is why we thought there is a contribution that we could bring to make cycling easier, more fun and safer, and therefore I would say that's really the next big thing. For the camera here, this is the ABS from Bosch eBike system generation 2. It's super small, it's lightweight, and it's really actually this little device here.
And that's really the first thing that you notice, that it is super tiny. So tell us all about the ABS, tell us about how it works.
So first of all, we should look where it is mounted, because I'm not sure if you saw the bike here, because it has mounted the ABS already at the front fork, and it's so small that you can mount it behind the front fork above the caliper. So it's from your ankle almost invisible. And that was the whole idea. Beside the function, we said we have to reduce the size and the weight, 77% smaller, 55% less weight. And with that, we have the full anti-lock braking system functionality inside here.
Tell us a bit more about it. Do you have any more details for us?
So, Bosch has more than 40 years experience in ABS for cars, more than 25 years experience ABS for motorbikes, and since 2018, ABS for e-bikes. And if you develop an ABS, you have to understand the vehicle dynamics. The weight of the vehicle, how many wheels, 4 wheels, 2 wheels, center of gravity, dynamic movement. And for an e-bike, it's important to understand there is a high center of gravity which is dominated by the weight of the cyclist. The motorbike is heavy, but the e-bike is not that heavy, so the rider itself dominates the physics of the bike. And when it comes to riding dynamics, we also saw an effect that for the past 30 years, bicycle brakes became better and better, from rim brakes to hydraulic disc brakes. So we see that cyclists, they don't use the front brake that often anymore because they fear that they cannot control the front brake because it has such a high stopping power with so low hand clamp forces. And this is why we said there are two use cases where we can step in with technology. Number one is when you are on loose gravel, so you have low friction and you fear of using your front brake. We encourage you use both brakes and stay with your body with a center of gravity just centrally on the bike, because we can control the slip. We can monitor if the front wheel slips, then we control the brake pressure, and then you can control the handlebar. This works, it's super fascinating, and this is the function number one. Function number two, and this is very special for bicycles, that's almost not common for motorbikes, is the rear wheel lift-off. So if you are on a tarmac, on a road, and you hit your brakes very hard, and you move forward with your body, because immediately you do, by the deceleration, you could go over the handlebar.
Right.
So we can monitor the wheel speed and the acceleration of the whole situation, or the deceleration, and with that we can control the brake pressure in the front brake, and we can control the rear wheel lift-off. We call this rear wheel lift-off mitigation. So these are the two functions all in this little device here.
And we did see all sorts of different e-bike models in our video. Are you actually going to be helping us out with all of these?
Actually, yes. We started with our first generation with 28-inch wheel city touring trekking because we need to learn about the vehicle dynamics I have just explained. And now we go into the broad range from ABS touring and all-road to ABS cargo, because if you see the cargo bike with the small front wheel and the long wheelbase, a totally different dynamic behavior. And on the other side, ABS trail for sportive mountain bikers, which we will bring also in model year 23 ABS trail.
Perfect. And I'm glad that you mentioned ABS trail, because I do know that you are a passionate e-mountain biker, and ABS trail is something I personally have not yet been able to wrap my brain around entirely. Perhaps you can go into a bit more detail here as well and explain how it works.
Yeah, when we have been riding ABS, and then we learned about the potential of the product and the technology. And we said we want to use this also in mountain bikes. But now mountain bikes have a different geometry, they have different tires, you have more suspension, so the whole dynamic situation changes now. And then we said, how far can we bring that? And a year ago, we started to test a lot with our customers, the bike manufacturers, also with sportive rider, with athletes who are working with us. And then we had the chance to bring it more to a performance side. If you design an ABS, if you tune the algorithm, it's all about stability. So the stopping power, the deceleration, to the stability of the bike. If you are an experienced rider and sportive rider, you want to have more stopping power, more performance,
right.
But maybe you allow a little bit less stability because you can still control this. And this is what we did with ABS Trail, and I think we have another video for this to show to you. Video, please.
The new e-bike ABS from Bosch keeps your flow.
That was you in the blue sweater, right? You were the one in the blue sweater.
No, actually not. I cannot do the...
But it wasn't that funny.
No, that wasn't me. No, but actually we have developed this with very sportive riders. I was using this now for 1 year. I did many tours with Stefan Schlee in the Alps last summer and although this spring. We taped it a little with duct tape so no one would take pictures. And it's really working on any kind of trail. You will be surprised. This is really an added value. This is the next big thing, if you want to say so, that everyone wants to have once you have written it.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Klaus, for sharing that. And I can completely understand your passion about the ABS. I think we all can understand the great value that it adds to e-bike riding in general. And as an e-mountain biker, of course, this is your private passion. And now that we heard a lot about safer e-biking, about making sure that all the consumers arrive safely at their destinations on their e-bikes, there is always one thing that comes to mind. I think this is probably the first thing right after safety. E-bikes are expensive. And the only reason that I do not yet own my own e-bike is because I am positive that it's going to get stolen in Berlin very quickly, I reckon. So that has actually kept me. You use your e-bikes on a day-to-day basis. Don't you ever worry about theft, about it getting stolen?
Absolutely. I always worry about every bike, and I just lock my bike outside in front of the door with a good lock. But I'm always concerned, and let's see if someone tries to manipulate my bike. I think we have a video for that. And what will happen if you... Do we have a video? Yeah.
There we go.
So that's my bike outside, locked to a post. So we have a thief here with a toy, with a tool. And now he moves my bike. The first alarm rings. It's... Now comes the second tone that is even louder. You get a notification on your Flow app, and immediately you see where your bike is going, so we can track with GPS the information on your Flow app, so you have the information digital. We said the Flow app is the key to your bike, so you have all information available. So you should call the police, make an announcement, your bike is getting to be stolen. Don't follow the thief yourself, call the authorities, let them do the job for you, and they will be able to help you find your bike. And all you need is bike alarm.
That's amazing. So a digital theft protection, we can say, for the e-bike. Now, that was basically the only piece of the puzzle missing for that full package, for the perfect experience for every e-bike rider. And I think the last question is, how do we get the e-bike alarm? Did you mention that yet?
So the e-bike alarm is a feature in the Flow app and in our cloud services, and for that you need a combination with the Connect module. The Connect module is a small device which will be mounted, assembled to the bike in a hidden spot so that you cannot see it from outside. And inside is a whole lot of electronics. There is GPS, there is LTE, cellular connection, directly to the cloud, and the cloud service then distributes all the information. Though it comes with, if you buy it with 1 year of fee is free, and then it comes with a subscription.
And I think this makes clear, or makes even more obvious, that digital features, that connected products are, of course, a crucial part, again, of the smart system segment within the e-bike system world, the Bosch e-bike systems world. And being connected digitally is, of course, becoming more and more important by the hour, once again. That's nothing new to us, but maybe you could now explain displays and control units. This would probably be the perfect time.
Yeah, that was the whole idea of the smart system. As I said earlier, new hardware, new software, totally new architecture, new technology, a lot of encryption and connectivity, and we had first to build the foundation. And now that we have the foundation, we can bring one product after another even faster. So the next product that we will bring is the system controller for model year 23. It's similar to the remote, LED remote. It has LEDs to display your support mode. It has LEDs to showcase or to show to you the state of charge of the battery. It has 2 buttons, and it's nicely mounted into the top tube, so it makes a really clean and nice handlebar, because the system controller is now in the top tube.
Why don't you stick around right there and explain the system controller to us? Oh, or you actually have to come back for that. How does the system controller work?
Yeah, because the system controller has just 2 buttons, and the one button is on and off, and the second button is plus and minus, like you have on the remote, but now you're missing 3 other buttons, and therefore we have one more thing, and the one more thing is the mini remote, and the mini remote actually fits quite well to the handlebar right next to your brake. Actually, in production, it will not be gold, it's just for the camera, so that the camera can catch the little device better. And we will bring the mini remote, which will work together with the system controller and also with kiosks, with the smartphone grip. It can control the Flow app as well. And it can control also, in addition, a new product, which we bring to the market, that's Intuvia 100. Intuvia is known from the previous system. It's intuitive because it has a clear display with larger fonts, though that's basically the newest display for the city urban tracking area.
So first of all, congratulations on the subtle choice of color for the presentation. Too bad it's not the real color we'll be seeing, but it suits you very well. Are you just going to keep that on for the rest of the...
I'll keep that on for today.
Yeah, hold on to that. Why not? Now, you spoke about the e-bike Flow app. We spoke about that a couple of times. You mentioned the various digital features that it includes, and you said that you're combining the physical experience of e-bike riding with the digital experience of using the Flow app, using cloud services into this one sort of perfect experience. So maybe you can tell us what this one digital experience actually entails.
Yeah, the whole idea of bringing the Flow app into the center of the experience is that it can be the bridge between the two worlds, the digital world and cloud services and the physical world of the embedded software of the system. So with the Flow app, we can now control a lot of settings of the bike. We can have software over-the-air updates. There are more and more features coming, not every year. We were launching once per year. Now we are launching software once per quarter. You can adjust your ride modes. We have tracking, we have navigation, we have e-bike lock, we have e-bike alarm. You see there is a long list, and this is even to be continued. We have a huge backlog. Every one of you who develops software knows what a prioritized backlog is. It's long, and we will bring more functions and features, and the Flow app is basically your companion to bring these two worlds together.
I think there's even one more thing you left out. There's one more highlight, 300 display.
Yeah, as I said, to be continued. And I think the one feature which was asked a lot also in social media and the App Store is the Komoot integration. We have navigation in the Flow app, and the Komoot integration is coming right now, so you can plan your tours in Komoot, and then you can upload this, and then you can ride using the Flow app and having the navigation. And this is a very, very nice feature, and we are happy that we collaborate here with Komoot. Very, very good. And also a feature which was already there with the previous kiosks. We bring with kiosk 300, that's the navigation, and you see the little track. This is a feature streaming from the Flow app into the screen of the kiosk 300. Will be available later this year as an over-the-air update.
So a lot to look forward to later on this year and next year as well. Klaus, basically that brings us to your summary already. Would you like to summarize your key facts for us?
Yeah, let's sum it up. What's new for model year 23? So this is our system portfolio. This is what we bring to the market: different drive units, new batteries, connected devices, a lot of updates and upgrades in the Flow app. And I think the most important is the ABS, for sure. We believe that we can contribute to safety in all regards and in every area of riding, and therefore we're really looking forward also for your test rides later and to the test bikes during the Eurobike. And we see already a very high demand from our bike manufacturers who want to use ABS for all the different bike types which I have shown.
I did mention earlier that in terms of supply, there was one last thing you would like to share with us today. Would you like to add that now?
Yeah, as I said earlier, we are still in a very difficult situation, and I'm not sure who of you could follow the press conference this morning. Also, Burkhard Stork from the ZEV, the Bicycle Association, he said, this situation will not be over in the next 6 to 12 months. It's more like 18 months. Since 1 year, we say it's in 1 year, but this is a moving window. And it's really a very challenging situation, especially with a structural shortage. There is just not enough supply for all industries, and then all the events and disasters which come totally unexpected. So we are all working under heavy load in many task forces. We redesign our products. Our engineers are working to bring new alternatives, and these resources we would typically need to develop new products and bring them on our roadmap to the market. So this is a balance right now that we have. What do we do with the resources? We know this is a severe situation for the bike manufacturers because of their high inventory and their low production volume and cash flow situation. So we are working all together with our partners to solve this. This is very important for us.
Thank you for that, Klaus. So there is a lot on your plate, lots of challenges coming up, but we're all working together to make the future a brighter one, and there was a lot of good news today. So thank you so much for that.
I would keep it with Freddie Mercury. The show must go on, and the show will go on, and we make sure the flow goes on. Thank you very much.
Ever since you... Do you notice, however, since he put on that gold ring, he sort of changed? It's like this transformation on